In 1988, Kojima asked Konami if he could make their new game Snatcher smell like blood. He actually wanted players to smell a horrible blood-like odor when playing the game by having a special coating on the floppy disk melt when heated up in the PC. Naturally, his supervisors had to tell him no, probably a very common occurrence when your employee would later also want to make a game where the disk just flat out breaks if the player dies. Years later, he forgot about forcing you to smell blood or picking broken CD fragments out of your PlayStation and realized he could force you to simply go outside. He went over to Nintendo and said, "Lads, I've got it. I've finally figured it out. We can harness the power of the sun. I want to put sunlight in my Game Boy game." Nintendo weren't overly enthusiastic, but they still said, "Okay, you can try that if you want. Why not?" Sometimes you just have to let the man work his magic. Although he did also want the game to smell your bad breath. As in you could eat garlic and your smelly garlic breath would kill some vampires if you blew on the cartridge, or you could throw holy water on it. His staff managed to rein all these ideas back just to good old sunlight. I don't think he brought those ones to the Nintendo pitch. He did sing for them though, something about fire and burning up, some kind of sunlight song that sounded like Pikmin's love theme, and they just stared back in complete silence, probably thinking, "We already said yes, please stop." So for the game itself, you physically had to go outside to play Boktai, The Sun is in Your Hands. This Game Boy Advance game came with a special cartridge that had a solar sensor attached to it, with sunlight directly affecting the gameplay. This idea came after noticing some of the sensors used in Konami's medical devices on the market at the time, and thinking why couldn't something like that be used for a game? You even set your time zone so the sun can rise and set around the same time as real life. The story follows Django, a vampire hunter who can harness the power of the sun to charge up his solar gun, or gun del sol, using actual sunlight. I remember sitting on the swing in my garden as a kid, trying to let the sunlight hit the solar sensor in the rare gaps when it wasn't raining in Ireland, which makes me wonder about the target audience of this game. But you weren't completely stuck. There were solar stations to keep you going at night. It even had a banking system where you could store solar charges, or if things got really scarce, borrow a loan at a high interest rate. I imagine the need for these systems varied greatly depending on your real-life environment or what time of year you started playing, but it's useful that the option was there. This brings us to a major feature of Boktai, the pile driver. To purify or fully finish off one of the immortal enemies, you had to drag their coffin back to this area where you basically burn them up with continuous sunlight. There was no getting through these sections without being outside. If it was already night by the time you reached them, Kojima pops up on screen and says, "Tough luck, bet you wish you could use your smelly garlic breath now." The solar gun also had an overheat function where it would be disabled if used in the sunlight too long, letting you know you need to go back in the shade. I'm not sure if that was to protect the Game Boy screen, the sensor, the player, or if they just wanted it as a feature anyway, so maybe it was a bit of everything. You can clearly see hints of Metal Gear Solid throughout Boktai as well. You have stealth areas, wall clinging, distracting guards with noises, and most importantly, big punctuation marks floating over enemies. This concept art gives VR mission vibes, and it makes sense given that director Akuya Nakamura had previously worked with Kojima on Metal Gear Solid, Ghost Babel, and Sons of Liberty. The inspiration behind wanting the environment to affect gameplay came from his views on portable systems, feeling that they were only portable by definition, but stationary in the way the players use them, where you'd find a nice cozy spot to play and then just sit there and not move again until you're finished. His own words were, "I want to make a game that can only be played portably, where the environment's condition on the outside is reflected in the game itself." And it worked. It did physically force us to go outside and interact with our environment. And there is something satisfying about holding your game up in the air, knowing that some external power is fueling the pile driver, letting you take down enemies, even if 9-year-old me just sat on the swing instead of the couch for a few hours.